We are Mike and Jeannie, and we restore old houses. In 2021, we moved to South Carolina and bought a 120-year-old Victorian house. Follow along as we put the polish back on this Victorian masterpiece.
Welcome back to 1834 Restoration House.
Would you believe it's been over 30 days since the hurricane? That thing was intense. I know we kind of left you hanging there, but we have been so busy. In my job, I'm responsible for, a dozen or so facilities around the region. And some of them are up on top of mountains. And so we were out there literally with chainsaws, hacking and chopping our way through mountain roads, trying to get through these trees to get to facilities that needed to be attended to. Jeannie came along and helped out.
We spent 2 weeks up in North Carolina trying to get through the mountain roads, helping people clear their areas.
Working with locals, taking the chainsaws and cutting through down trees. Our truck was an invaluable asset in this because there were several times where we had to hook on with a chain to a log and use the truck to pull it. In fact, I remember one time pulling a log up a gravel road in reverse up a hill.
On the muddy slope.
On a muddy slope, yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah, it got done.
But it worked. The truck worked. We had no trouble with that truck.
Yep.
Gotta say, that is an amazing truck.
Great. So I'm trying to get one for the company so that I can use the company truck and quit using ours all the time. But it was great. We actually had to abandon the 1834 homestead here for probably 3-4 days.
It was 2 weeks.
Yeah, and we actually set up camp out in Spartanburg, South Carolina. There is a facility out there that I'm responsible for, and it had an old apartment there. So we set up shop in there and lived out of that for a few days because we had no power. For 2 weeks, we had no power here. It took 3 weeks to get the internet back.
Yes.
And about the time that we got the internet back, that was the time we uploaded our last video of the storm. But it took 3 weeks before we could even do that.
They still have cables running through the yard, so we still can't mow. Thankfully, the grass isn't growing that fast.
Right.
But wow.
It's October, I guess.
It's not bad.
Just about November. But I do want to point that out. Is this the November 1st?
Tomorrow is.
Tomorrow's November 1st. You see that neither one of us are wearing coats. So
it's 80 degrees today.
That is one of the benefits of living in the Deep South.
It is nice.
Yeah, so just putting that out there.
It does get cold. We do get cold usually January, February, March.
Yep.
Starts warming up a little bit in the March.
Right.
It's not bad.
But you could probably hear in the background a lot of people are running chainsaws, and it's been like that ever since the hurricane. It's just constant chainsaws everywhere. People cutting up trees, cutting up limbs. And there were times when even power poles were being cut.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I have any personal experience with that, but just saying. You got to do what you got to do after something like this. And we had to do some very strange things in order to get to where we had to go.
And we got a shout out to the electric companies around here. These people did incredible work. They were everywhere.
Yep.
And they were very nice, very friendly, coming from all over the states, many states.
Right.
And sometimes up in the North Carolina area where we were working on stuff, we have to sit for about an hour while they worked on stuff. And they just sit there chatting with us, the guys with the stop signs and stuff. They would talk with us for quite a while, and it was really nice.
It was fun talking to the locals through this whole thing. It's kind of like we're all in this together, we're helping each other out.
We just shut the truck off and wait. We're good.
I mean,
it's okay.
There were several times where we were actually working with locals to clear trees on their roads.
Oh, yeah.
Because we needed to get through, but also it helped them. So they were very grateful that we were able to help them out with that. Because there were a couple of occasions where they couldn't have gotten out if we hadn't cut the trees so that we could get in.
Right.
So,
and they were running out of generator fuel.
Right.
There was quite a few of them by the time we got up the second mountain. The first mountain, we did really well. Got clear through that. But the second mountain, they were starting to run out of generator power, so they needed fuel. So the timing was good.
Yep.
We got there, started helping, and they started coming out of their houses to help. They're like, we've got help. We're coming. We're coming.
Right.
It was great. It was a lot of fun to be with them. And
we encountered a couple of guys. It was kind of funny. We were going up this road that had been completely blocked, and I had done some work on the road the day before with one of my employees, and so Jeannie and I went back up the same road to try to see what we could do with it, and a few more logs had been cut, and we come around this corner, and these two guys are walking up the road, and they stopped and turned around, and they looked at us like, whoa.
bewildered.
And they came back, they said, how did you get up here? And I told them, well, we cleared these
cleared
other
the road.
logs. And he says, well, you're not going to get any further than this because there's a landslide and more logs across the road. And well, I said, well, I got to get up there. I've got facilities up there that need to be turned back on because we can't get news and information out to the public unless these are working. So the other guy says, do you have a chainsaw? I said, yes, sir. And so we grabbed our chainsaw, they grabbed theirs, and we got to work.
Yeah.
We got to work.
Took us a little while, but we got it clear.
Yep.
So they were very excited about it.
They were, yeah. And one of the guys later on, I went back and visited his house a couple of days later and asked him if he could help me pull a log off of one of the roads that I had to go to further up the mountain. And so he came up here with his chainsaw bar about this long.
A massive one. He knew how to handle it too. He was good.
He was good. And his chainsaw way outpowers our chainsaw.
Yeah.
And I was asking him, what kind of a saw is that? What model is that? And he says, you don't want to buy this saw. This is very expensive. I'm like, yeah, actually, I kind of do. But it's a project for another day.
Now, we don't mean to make light of this, but it was a terrible disaster. A lot of people died. It was really a nightmare. But the people that we got to meet were wonderful.
Yes.
They were wonderful and very friendly, very open, welcoming, especially knowing that we're coming up to help.
Right.
What do you need? What can we do? Let's take that log out. These logs are massive. We're not talking little logs. We're talking, they're trees.
Huge.
And they're all down everywhere.
Right.
You've got power lines everywhere. It was good to see so many good-spirited people.
Yes. I mean, we had trees down, power lines down. We were literally driving across power lines that were laying across the road.
Yeah.
They weren't live because the entire region, with very few exceptions, the entire region around here, the Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina area, was completely dark, completely without power. Gas stations couldn't pump gas. It got to be almost a crisis for people trying to get gasoline. And the few stations that were open had incredibly long lines. And we were able to go get some fuel and get back to work. But
because we got diesel.
Yeah, diesel.
Diesel was easy to get.
It wasn't.
Gasoline was not. It was ran out within a few days.
Not quite in high demand as gasoline was.
Right.
But, I mean, it was bad.
It was.
Grocery stores were closed. It was just almost impossible to get anything. All of our food that was in the refrigerator spoiled. The freezer spoiled.
We lost a lot.
We did. We had to rely on canned food and boxed food.
I had emergency stash,
Right.
so we were okay that way.
Yep. But as the days wore on, they started bringing generators to gas stations, and so they could start pumping fuel.
Yeah.
A lot of grocery stores lost everything. Our town's grocery store,
They were out a whole week.
yeah, they lost
had to get more
everything that
supplies
was
coming in.
refrigerated.
Yeah.
Yeah. But over time, things got better. More power got restored. Power line crews came from all over the region, from multiple states.
They were incredible.
Actually, more than just the region. I mean, as far away as Michigan and Dakotas.
Yeah.
Far, far away. These guys came in. They worked alongside our local regional utility guys and got everything hooked back up. And
They were everywhere.
They did
It was
fast.
incredible.
They did it fast. I mean, most everything was powered up again within
In
2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was
I
phenomenal.
mean, not just our town. It was like the entire region.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was incredible to see.
And it's gotten to the point now where pretty much everybody's powered up.
Yeah, everybody is.
Yeah. So
Well, I don't know about the people up in North Carolina yet, because they had some massive problems.
there are still some places up there that are inaccessible.
Yeah.
Roads are completely obliterated. I'm sure you've seen this on the news.
Oh, yeah.
Just go around YouTube and take a look at some of the videos from people on the ground there. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean,
There's lots of stories out there.
we got off pretty easy compared to some of them. So
We did.
the folks up there, our thoughts are with you, and we
Yes.
hope that as you kind of come back to normalcy, I hope that things go well going forward. But
Should be another 100 years before we have another storm like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully not in our
It's
lifetime.
not normal.
As far as the reasons why we haven't posted, it's just because we've been so busy. I've been so busy at work trying to recover, and I think finally, maybe yesterday, I finally got everything back to normal again from hurricane damage for the
Pre-hurricane
company
damage.
that I work for. There was
Yes.
just so much work to do and so many problems, and
Yeah.
it's all better now. But should we stop talking for a minute and give them a tour of what happened around the old place?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's start with the big one first. So this tree right here is a century-old oak tree. Been here a long time, and it's probably weathered all kinds of storms, but it didn't do well. There are several branches up there that are actually broken, and they're hung up in branches. They call those widow makers because they suddenly fall and kill people. And they're heavy enough to do that. So we've got to get a guy out here and trim those out and see if the tree is salvageable. Because a lot of times when you break a tree like that, that may be a death sentence for the tree. So we've got to find out if the tree is suitable to be saved, or does it have to be cut down. Considering the intensity of the hurricane, it's a miracle that the only damage to this house is right up here. That's one of the shutters. It actually got torn off the house and it fell down on the roof. And there's another piece of it back over here laying on the ground. And that's it. That's the only damage that the house took. The roof is okay, the windows are okay, and it's a miracle that something didn't break. If you remember from our last episode, there was a big tree branch laying right here, and you actually saw it. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. The tree branch fell out of this oak tree here, smashed down to the electrical line, and caused a big shower of sparks. Made for some great video, but that cut our power for 2 weeks. It also cut the power for our next door neighbors, and so they didn't have any either. Well, the utility company finally showed up one day, and they replaced that wire. And you remember that was a wire we just recently had replaced before. I think it was last year. And so it's now replaced again. But I went out there and Jeannie helped me. We cut this tree up and I loaded it in the tractor and she brought it up here and piled it up. It doesn't look quite as spectacular now that it's kind of settled down, but it used to be a huge pile. And the town is supposed to come through at some point and pick all these up, but if you just kind of look around, you'll see all of this across the street, down the street. There's piles of debris everywhere across the street. And then if you look back over here, the neighbors, they used to have a couple of really nice big trees over here, and both of those fell down or broke. And so they ended up losing all of the trees in the front yard, at least the big ones. They lost their trees, and now it looks wide open. It used to look a lot more secluded. So now we have to figure out if this tree here is okay. It may be salvageable, it may not, we just don't know. In our last episode, there was a tree catty corner over there, that brand new house. The tree had fallen down on the roof, and it looks like somebody came along and cut the tree up and got it off there. But you can see the house still has some damage to the roof and nobody's repaired it yet. It's really hard on the contractors in this area because there's so much work to do. They can't keep up with it. Their roof repairs, gutter repairs. In some cases, some people's houses actually got smashed and now they're uninhabitable. and they have to be rebuilt. Yeah, it's just crazy. Even fences. A lot of fences got destroyed by fallen trees, and so the fence guys are busy. People's cars got smashed. So there'll be some new cars running around the area because of that, I guess. There is one other thing that's kind of odd. Come over and take a look at this. Duke Energy's response to this whole disaster was phenomenal. They were Johnny on the spot. They got things done, and they got things done right the first time. They didn't mess around. However, Spectrum, on the other hand, not so much. You see, this wire right here is the old cable that went to our house that got broken by that tree branch. And this thing was broken for 3 weeks. So their solution was to run this cable across our yard. If you can see, it goes across the sidewalk and up the pole and connects up there. Then it comes across the yard, across the grass, and then it ends up over there on the wall. Now, that thing sat there for probably a good 2 weeks before it was ever activated. And in fact, our entire town had no internet. Not only that, but the cell service in this town, you couldn't make a phone call, you couldn't receive a phone call, and you couldn't get any data. It's like it was there, but it wasn't there. And it was really frustrating trying to communicate with anybody during that time. But even now to this day, that is our internet connection to the world. And it seems that Spectrum has forgotten to come back and finish it. Now, they did do one thing, though. They said they wanted to bury the cable. Okay, that's great. So what they did is so what they did is they ran the cable from this pole over here, they buried it to go across, came up around there, and then just coiled it up on the box there. So yes, they buried the cable, but it's not connected up yet. So they still need to run one from this pole over to the street and get that hooked up. But I believe that they probably have forgotten about it and won't do anything until I call and complain. So yeah, there's still a few issues. There you have it.
An update.
Post-hurricane update.
Yes.
A month later.
Yeah, but we've been really busy.
Yep.
Helping lots of people.
Yep. And that's what's important.
It is.
You know, restoration can wait.
Right.
People need help now, and
yeah,
it's much better to give them the help they need.
Yep. Well, thank you for watching 1834 Restoration House.